Daniel had always believed that success was a destination, one built on ambition, sacrifice, and solitary focus. He had spent decades climbing the ladder, collecting titles, properties, and investments. But at 52, he found himself staring at the ceiling most nights, his heart heavy, his days colourless. He had the life he thought he wanted, yet it felt empty. One autumn afternoon, seeking something he couldn't quite name, Daniel travelled to a remote mountain monastery. He had heard whispers about a monk there, old, quiet, and said to carry more wisdom than most books ever held. When Daniel arrived, the monk greeted him with a nod, said nothing, and motioned for him to follow. They walked through stone corridors, past quiet gardens and weathered statues until they came to a heavy wooden door. The monk opened it. Inside was a grand room, lit by golden chandeliers. A banquet table stretched from end to end, overflowing with food. Roasted meats, fresh fruits, warm breads, everything imaginable. Around the table sat a group of people, their bodies thin and frail, faces twisted with hunger. Strapped to their arms were long wooden spoons, too long to feed themselves. They struggled, dipping into the food, but no matter how they twisted or turned, the food never reached their mouths. Moans of frustration echoed around the room. Daniel watched in silent confusion. Without a word, the monk led him to the next room. It was identical, same table, same food, same spoons strapped to arms. But the people here were laughing, talking, well-fed, joyful. Daniel looked closer. They weren't trying to feed themselves. Each person reached across the table to feed another, and in return, they were fed too. Daniel felt something shift inside him, a tightening in his chest, a sudden, clear understanding of the ache he'd carried for so long. He turned to the monk, who finally spoke. "Heaven and hell are not about the setting," he said softly. "They're about how people treat each other." Daniel nodded slowly, his eyes lingering on the joyful scene. For the first time in years, he understood what was missing. Not more wealth, not more recognition, but connection, generosity, and the simple act of giving. When he left the monastery, Daniel didn't return to his life as before. He began again, this time not chasing success but building community, practicing kindness and feeding others in all the ways that matter. And in doing so, he found he was finally full.